Oh,
Hello.
all. Sorry. I don't know what's going on there. Is it any better now?
Yep.
Yes.
Those damn squirrely Google guys.
Blame it on Google.
Alright, here you go. I'm sharing my screen. Let me know if you get it. You guys see my screen?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, so I wanted to, there's a couple of graphics that I'm putting into this little, first of all, I guess it makes sense to say, here's the BRD that I'm developing. And so it's coming along. I haven't, this is what I want to hand off ultimately, and I'm populating it, but I wanted to circle back with a couple things that I am putting in here that I want you guys to weigh in on because you're helping me do it. Specifically, it's this next steps thing. So this is kind of what I'm talking about us doing right now. We've already identified these process flows, and what we're doing actively is trying to figure out where SFDC can be leveraged. This piece, identify where it can go into, right? Once we're able to determine that, yeah, we can in fact go do that, the data requirements, and then what do you need? What's got to be in place, right? A demo. So I think it's all kind of going down that path right now. Maybe Monday, Tuesday, demo will kind of be able to close these three areas. This fourth business case, maybe in the discussion that we've had, maybe the only reason why that might be a thing that we got to keep is if we decide to, like the example you showed with the custom development for commissions.
Mm-hmm.
If things like that start to come into a point where they're going to take multiple amounts of time, I don't know what that increment of time should be to be measured. If it's days, weeks, months, or if it extends beyond just you to other things, right? You need another software developer, you need an API call to a database or whatever. We can start to evaluate, do those things, part of this step being, what do I need? Tying back into this step, meaning, okay, it might cost me money or time, which is money. Do we want to make that decision and highlight what that is, right? And then the final piece of that would be to call out, okay, we made the decision. How long? How
Yeah.
long will it take before I get whatever it is that I just proposed to you? So I'm calling this out because it immediately applies to the last presentation we just walked through. If we can keep these pieces in mind, I can include them in this document and speak to them in this document so that way we can keep a record of what it is we're doing. And along the same path of record, I wanted to show you this. This is pointed to you, Ash, where we were talking about capturing user stories, right? So I think it makes sense, and I still want to promote the idea that if we decide, we go down this process here and decide that we can leverage out-of-box functionality, whatever that is, I'd like to put that into a user story. So like in the example we were just talking about, as a sales manager, I need the ability to mass import new contacts. That's a use case, right? And then we can capture that we implemented that, right? Here's the desired functionality. I need mass import up, what do you call it? Upsert capability.
Yep.
Current functionality is manual process of evaluating and formatting Excel documentation, farming it out to ISRs. You see what I'm saying? I mean, this table, we don't have to capture anything more elaborate than that, but I'm pointing out to you that I want to capture that. So if we ever come back to what is it that you did do that affected downstream process, we can point to a point in time and a particular story that we implemented and say, this is what we put in place. And if it needs to come out, we can roll it back at that point. Okay?
Okay.
So I just wanted to show you guys that that's going into overall in-state documentation. The other thing I wanted to show, and now this is more pointed at you, James, is in some of the recommendations that I'm going to call out, a discussion around the infrastructure is required. And so I'm trying to point out two different domains, right? The ESG domain, this is our network, and this is the VMware network, and that there's this big bad internet that we utilize to ping URL domain names. Some of those go through a tunnel, some of those are just open internet connections. I'm showing you this because I wanted to catalog any relevant systems on either side that fit this dynamic. And if we need to elaborate it more, we can, but a lot of the discussion that we're going to have is effectively this. You have an account, and I don't care what account we have, these are the 4 tiers of things that influence what we can and cannot do. It's the offering, right? In our case, it's outsourced sales services, right? Whatever the offering is. It's the people involved, right? The stakeholders involved. I mean, we can't just decide not to utilize VMware. They are a stakeholder in terms of we need to interact with their sales representatives, their tools, their systems. They are stakeholders. Their environment, just like I was just saying, I mean, there are limits that we have based on the way that their operational environment is set up in terms of tools, network connectivity, data, flows, approvals, all those things. And then finally this, data, tools, and processes, meaning, you know, they use SFDC. Thank goodness we use FDC. They use blog. We use whatever. So these things all matter when we ultimately come to the point where we say, hey, can we go talk about process improvement? They have to be considered in this structure, or else you can't really have that discussion. So the first question to you is, do you agree with this structure and the tiers I've identified, or do we need to add or edit this in any way? And I'm looking for open thoughts. This could come from you too, Ashley. I mean, based on your environment and your experience as well.
That makes sense to me.
Okay.
I mean, at the highest level, right?
Right. Ultimately, it matters at the highest level because, like I said, I mean, there's going to come a point in time that will say, well, why didn't you do, or couldn't you do, or what about? And any of those, whatever the hell you fill that in with, has got to be considered in this context, or else it just can't. We can't have that discussion, right? I can't have a discussion about integrating, you know, to their database when the operational environment or their tools don't let me do that, right? So we have to have the discussion in that context, or it doesn't matter, right? These are effectively the boundaries of any discussion or recommendation we have here going forward.
Yep.
Okay, so how about you, Ash? Do you have any thoughts based on what you've seen through the videos, or do you agree?
I agree.
Okay, so then the other piece of this is the network. So James, this might be everything that we need for the discussion that we're having around process on your team. It doesn't have to be. I'm not trying to make it elaborate for any particular reason, but this is the structure as I understand it. Do you agree? Does this need edit? What are your thoughts here?
Those are the major systems we use.
And this is the connection we have nowadays, right? So the BI dash, we have VPN, but on open, just www URL connection, we have these two systems.
Yeah, I mean, there's some more sites I go through on the VMware side for the VPN, but those are the major ones.
Okay. Well, this is out here, and it's not the last time to edit it, but if it is relevant, I'd like to capture it in this kind of context where you can see that the two domains, that they're, first of all, are two domains. They're not connected. I mean, ideally, you'd want it like this, right, where one domain captures the other, right? But we don't have that structure.
Right.
Right? Okay. So that's the biggest takeaway, and then the other one is just what systems have access in different ways. At Service Source, this was very important because the discussion that Keith had me run down was, hey, you have 90 accounts, and in 90 different accounts, show me the various ways that these connections are made, and that really determined how we racked and stacked who we were going to go hit from a can we help them out standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Because some of these guys were none of the VPNs existed, or some had many more other layers of network connectivity that we just couldn't touch, and we said, screw it, we'll put those at the back of the bus just based on this filter alone. So anyway, okay, so just it's out there. If you think through anything like this that matters in this kind of context, let me know. The final one here, from a context standpoint, is this structure, which is just kind of the stakeholder interaction. So we, and again, completely open for your edits or comment, but effectively what I'm trying to demonstrate is, in some ways, we're process and tools are some ways bound by this interaction, which is ESG interacts with some account, which we call client. That client has their own clients, which we're going to call, in this context, customers. And that customer has an immediate point of contact, which is an account rep or an account coordinator. So this is ISR, this is ESE, this is AC. And this AC then coordinates with any slew of students or end users who interact for the sake of this account team services. So it'd be certifications, it'd be online training, it'd be on-site training, it'd be any service offering that this customer renders. But the purpose of this description is that the interaction that we have ultimately driving our processes are to cater to this guy, to cater to that guy, and to cater to this dude who might potentially come to us through an 800 number or through interaction through these two.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted, so I'm throwing it out there, same question. Do you need to add, subtract? Did I get it right? What are your comments around this?
I don't think there's really anything to add. I mean, on the bottom row, it looks like the customers, right, the end users, are coming to ESG. Is that what you're kind of showing?
Yeah, so yeah, it's a great point. In that case, what I was trying to demonstrate is that these guys, we are no different than VMware. That's why I put this block that we're effectively the vendor. They don't know that we're VMware. They don't know that we're ESG. But for the purpose of getting this client's services, they may come to them through to the ESE or to us directly through 800 number or through account coordinator,
Yeah.
who's ultimately voicing their opinion.
I'm just thinking about my bosses want the arrow probably to go the other way, that my people are proactively reaching out.
Oh, all the way to here?
Like either VMware or ESG is contacting these customers and not being contacted by the customers.
Oh, so you're saying maybe this arrow shouldn't be here. This should be a one-way.
Right, like either VMware or ESG's efforts in talking to the customer results in the opportunity. And maybe that's not what this shows. I just know, what.
No, that's a good thought, though. I really like that observation. It's not what I thought in my head. What I was thinking in my head was, why would we be again, going back to this, I'm going to go modify my processes to cater to all this shit. This is the interaction of all that stuff, right? Our product offering is whatever. We have to interact in an operational environment which includes these people, is what I was trying to show.
Okay.
And these were trying to show comms lines, but I think what you're pointing out is because this is going to be an ESG document and potentially used for continuity, really we should be highlighting the idea that this should go here and this should go there. Their interaction back to us is really just ancillary. It should be a product of us reaching out to them, not
That's exactly what I was thinking. Yeah.
Right. So that's a good point. I'm going to keep a Rev B, and let's potentially keep that as the primary because I really agree with that thought. I didn't look at it that way, but that makes sense. So these effectively go away, right? This is an interaction coming from us to them.
Yeah.
Does this line then need to be here? Does this need to be a double arrowed line? I mean, it's their intention that that communication is both ways, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm saying from ESG standpoint, did they expect that these two are interacting and then we're interacting direct to them, or is it, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it could be either way. Yep.
Okay. So I'll make this. Like that. Okay.
Yeah.
The other big point of this too was I was thinking through heart, just helping them understand, you're about to see a product of a bunch of process flow. Why did you set it up that way? Well, one of the reasons is because this dynamic exists, right? It's not something we can influence. It is the way that we interact on our account teams, right? And so I wanted to be able to describe that in some meaningful way. So, okay, enough about this one. Let's go over to, so lasting thought again is, if this comes up and we have an epiphany and we need to change it, give me that feedback because ultimately I'm going to stick it in here into that Word doc. Okay, so let's go to process flow then. Okay, Ashley, did I send you this?
What?
Did you get this? These
I did not.
Okay, because this might help you from as the recommendations that you develop come down. I know you saw the video, but well, I guess that's what this exercise is for, is to kind of place these into whatever the 2B scenario is going to be. So let me copy this file all together, and we'll call this, well, actually, let me rename it. Let me do it once. Let's call this as is. Because Lucidchart is a cloud-based application, I was on a plane doing a lot of these process flows and I couldn't get to it, so that's why I had to do it in Excel. So I'll send it to you. And then we'll make this. So that here's ultimately what I want to do is make the 2B version of this thing. Okay, so let's just start going through them. So verified attendance. This one will still be you, right, James? There's no change from a role standpoint for any of these activities. I know we went through them, but does this need to go somewhere else now in the 2B?
I can't really see it.
Okay, so let me do this. Let me send you guys, because I don't want to keep making them bigger. Let me just send you guys these forms real quick. Okay, let me know when you got it.
Okay.
All right, I have it.
Okay, so let's just start with the verify attendance then. Just call them out to me, James, as to where I guess I'll just start with that first golden box. Do we intend for any of these to move down, or do we intend for well, I guess that's second gold box here. So validate end user training is attended. Are you guys at the macro level? Are you going to use any other role to do this, or are you going to keep doing this?
I had it pegged for the sales associate.
Okay, so all this goes to sales associate. So effectively, it becomes
the first box would eventually.
That's sales associate, right?
Well, hold on. The gold box, the validate end user training attended.
That's just a macro box. That's just a category. That's just, don't ignore that one. That one isn't a process really, because the entire process is really that just being described.
Okay, sorry.
So really, the sales associate, in terms of manual processes, right? The sales associate gets the task of validating the process. They go to SSFDC. So really, this is not a manual process. It's really a circle, right? It just starts here. So it's a circle. They go to SFDC. They get a report. From here, they manually input data range parameter that they get from, oh, wait a minute, this has got to come from the list. Yeah, so, okay, so there's a report that's generated in SFDC. Salesforce goes out into, where is this coming from? This should be VMware, isn't it? Because they're going to then reconcile to a result. Oh, no, oh, it is still within SFDC. Okay, so effectively they're just querying SFDC to get an individual that took a class. Okay, then they go to VMware. They configure the users, hits the database, it returns a result set. They select a record. So okay, so all these processes here, I know Ashley was just talking about maybe there's a way to manually set up a class object in SFDC. We can tie that to an opportunity object with certain data fields that are coming from VMware. And you have the task, James, of figuring out what data fields can come from VMware, right? So really this one on verify attendance, we could go through all this, but all of this potentially could be automated through SFDC if we're able to demo out that this thing works and you can get the right? So instead of walking through each one of these interactions, how about what we do in this case is we just say, let's call this one wait and see, and maybe all these get replaced by Salesforce, and it's a whole other series of manual steps. So let's just pass through this one. Fair enough?
Yep.
Okay, activate PSO. Okay, we talked about that it could start at any one of these. Does this look like it's going to be different in any way from a roles perspective?
Well, I think one of our ideas in the future, to be state was to give the sales a sales associate a list of all those that are inactive and have them work to get them activated.
Okay. So is it represented on any one of these boxes now, or is that one that we got to create?
I think in the 2B, we're still going to have this. But what I'm saying is there's probably a separate area for the sales associate to be proactively reaching out to account coordinators to hopefully at some point eliminate most of these activation, interactions.
So it's really like a predecessor to this process then.
Yeah.
Okay. So do we know today kind of what that, I mean, how are we going to, do we know how we're going to make that happen for the sales associate? I mean, is there a process we can document for that predecessor piece?
I mean, I have an idea of, it's probably more of when, I got to think through it, but it's something I should be able to pull from the VM dash process that will tell me which accounts are inactive and basically just getting it over to that person.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let me do this, man. Now that you guys have the file, I'm just looking at time. Now that you have the file, and we already kind of walked through with Ashley on where we think we can make a process improvement, let me suggest an alternative then to walking through each one of these. How about you just take a stab at moving these to where they might go because you have the file, and just send me whatever those updates are, whatever that new file is. And then if we have confusion around what were we thinking or what else needs to go in there, maybe we can just discuss those changes. Would that be okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, fair enough. Do you have, I know you said you kind of had some more time today. Do you think it'd be something you can kind of review like today potentially and see if there's any big disconnects or what kind of timeline were you thinking to be able to review this?
I'm available till 5. I don't have to go anywhere.
Okay, so can I leave this with you to take a peek at? Tell me where those boxes need to move. Just move them and create another file. And then maybe what we can do is review what that is once that input's complete. And then, like I said, we already have the outstanding action of incorporating Ashley's recommendations after we demo them. So if we get those two things going concurrently, right, you make those changes, we figure out what we need to demo on Monday, maybe then we come up with Rev Final, probably the beginning of next week, Monday or Tuesday. I just don't want to eat up your time on a Google Hangout if really all we're doing is waiting for your input on where these things may or may not go.
Yeah, I mean, for me, Gabe, I think some of this we're just talking through. I don't think I'm really moving things around, like activate PSO. A lot of this existing process is still going to happen, but the idea is to get out in front of it through utilizing like sales associates. I mean, I'm happy to go through these now if you want. I don't know that me working by myself and trying to get something done for you today is really going to happen, unless you guys got stuff you need to do.
Oh no, I just didn't want to. If you want to go through them together, I just didn't want to milk your time to do that. Is all I'm kind of getting at. So if you want to keep going through these together, maybe that's what we could do. But I think what I'm hearing though, just in that last statement, is probably these things that are throwing the buckets they need to be. Maybe what we're missing is, like you said, how do we enable these things to kind of take place, just utilizing the sales associate resource. In which case, I know right now I don't have any of those instances, right? I don't know like here, in this flow, if by getting a report out of BI Dash and having the sales associate comb through that this is enabled somehow. I just don't know what that might look like. So I think there's pieces missing is my overall point. And if we can add what those might be, that'd be good. If the overall other aspect of it is that it's not going to change too much.
Yeah, I really think that we'll still have this process. Even if I have, say, just call it a special project where I have somebody trying to proactively activate credits, even when they're brand new, and scope the accounts. We're still going to have this interaction, even in the 2B state.
Okay.
So maybe there's just like a special, I wouldn't know how to put it in here, but like my idea is I want to have a special project that has a sales associate focused on actively pinging account coordinators to activate and scope accounts.
Okay.
Which
So,
over a period of time, then hopefully you're caught up on your PSOs, and we're only doing new PSO accounts and getting them activated, and the rest are activated. That would be the dream state, but yeah. There's 4,400 of them, so it would be a while. Did I lose you?
no, that's good. So let's just keep going through just a couple more of these, because I think in a roundabout way I'm getting to the input that I'm looking for. So I'm going to eat up some more of your time.
I'm good with that, man.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, all I would do the rest of today is check our numbers every 5 minutes and have panic attacks. So this is actually pretty good alternative.
All right. So let's just go through this grid some more then. We've already talked about, well, no, I guess we really don't need to, because we reviewed it at the 2B state, and I think we captured this pretty good based on what we talked about before. So let's move on to the chase load balance PSO. How about on this one? Is there any other strategy outside of the 2B flow to kind of help enable this one and would be assigned to a role?
Yeah, so Ashley had talked about finding a way to automate that and pass it to sales associates through Salesforce by creating a specific threshold.
Okay, so here, this is going to be, and this is another thing we're kind of demoing. Well, it's not really the demo so much as you're going to go back to the team and get what that threshold might be, right?
Yep.
See it here is going to essentially have, what would they be called then, Ash? Is it going to be tasks? Is it going to be task object? It's going to...
It could either be a task or it could be an email. I don't know if there's a preference, if you think one's more valuable over the other, but it could be either one.
Yeah, I like generating the email.
Okay. Then yep, that can definitely be done.
Okay. So then the rest of the process is still kind of, do you identify what they are? It's develop the bill plan, go chase it, right? All this stuff still stays in place, right? Okay.
Yep.
Is there any other thoughts you had around chase low balance PSOs? I mean, I really don't think there was, based on the discussions that we had. It was really just trying to get those things burned down, right? Not let them expire without use.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Extensions. I think we talked nauseatingly through this. On the extensions, is that going to be, well, that's really an involvement that's still going to stay in place in the same way, right? I mean, we're not going to be able to really modify that too much, are we?
Now, the only thing I see that could change is maybe the template could be moved. Well, who's doing the template? Populate extension document. In the future state, we could look at having a sales associate do that as well. But I'm on the fence on that. I don't think it really is going to save any time. It's just a lot of back and forth.
Yeah.
So my hope is that these go away entirely. So I think we can leave this as is.
Okay. I know we don't have anything captured on the sanitized SFDC database, but maybe that's a good discussion point for Ashley. I mean, are there specific tasks or specific places maybe she could start to kind of, or a reference list of things? How would you see it? How would we engage that?
Is that for me or Ashley?
That's more for you. I mean, if you have an Ashley resource at your disposal, what would you have her go check and begin doing to sanitize the SFDC database?
Well, I think, man, if we could eliminate duplicates, accounts, contacts, but not lose tasks and opportunities, would be a starting place. She talked to us about using Salesforce to do emails. I think that's an obstacle for us, but I still want to be able to find a way to clean up the bad contacts that we get when we do a mail merge campaign, where it's obvious the contact isn't at the company any longer, they're not a valid contact for VMware, and get those out of our database. And that may be having a person do it or finding a program to do it. I don't know. But I just know there's a lot of duplication and bad contact information in there now.
Ashley, do you guys have any way that you guys go through? I mean, is there any recommended process to help objects that exist within a prod environment and start to whittle those down, remove duplicates, validate a single source record, that kind of thing?
We have not found a good way to clean up existing data. There are things you can put into place to keep it from happening, but once it's already in there, it's a pretty manual process to go through and eliminate.
So you introduced two things, right? One was existing data and one is new and we can prevent it. What would you do to help prevent it?
There's a couple of things that you can do. We don't implement them, but there is duplicate management that's built into Salesforce that you can have look at either the account name or the contact name, and you can have the system either alert you that something along those lines already exists, or you can have the system not allow duplicate creation anymore.
So, and how is that enabled? What, through like a validation or?
I guess it's somewhat of a validation, but it's an actual process that Salesforce runs that's called duplicate management.
So
you just put in the fields you want it to look at, and you click a couple of checkboxes saying if you want them to still be allowed to create the record, even though it may be a duplicate, or if you want them to not be able to create. It's not that difficult to set up.
Is it a feature set that you enable as an admin, or is it something we've got to go get?
It is a feature that you enable as an admin.
Okay. And then is it field driven then, or is it? And what drives it? What kind of data do you need in order to be able to enable the duplication?
It goes off of fields. So the account name field is something that can be checked. The one downfall for us and why we don't use it is we create a lot of accounts that are named after individuals, and there's no way to check that in the system. But if all of your accounts are actual corporations, then this would probably be very helpful for you.
Well, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, James, but this scenario is because we have a parent opportunity, that opportunity might have a contact. And, well, there's multiple scenarios, right? I mean, that's just one of them. There's multiple. But I think what we're ultimately getting at is that there's a process that you guys do manually to evaluate whether or not a contact is in SFTC now. And there's really no way that we're controlling that because multiple people can input contacts at the moment, correct?
Yep.
So does it stem from there? Does it stem from the idea that multiple people put them in? Or does it stem from the idea that the naming convention might be different, and really what you're doing is assigning a different contact to a contact that, had you done some more digging, you would have realized was already in there?
I think it's more of getting these massive lists from VMware that are, they may have been great lists in 2009, but half those people are not working at the same companies. There's bad contacts, or the account name says IBM dash whatever main, and IBM, there's 100 different variations on how they show up in these Excel lists, and through 7+ years of importing them, the data's it's changed just because of the nature of things. People change positions and stuff. And then just the way the lists were imported over the years, the account names, like IBM, there's several different variations. So what would be nice is to find a way, when we do these mail campaigns and get these bounce backs where it's clear that contact isn't, there or a valid contact, to find a way to either have somebody make that part of their day, that they're updating the database and removing those contacts, or moving the email address like I showed you, just so that they don't show up on future campaign lists. Or I don't know how you can automate that if you're running campaigns from Word and Outlook.
So Ashley, did you get a chance to see the mail merge video?
I did. There's not going to be a whole lot that you can do to automate that because he's sending it through Outlook and not through Salesforce. And that's why I'd suggested the Salesforce mass email, because if things bounce back there, you can have a box automatically checked or have the account automatically switched to inactive. As long as you're doing it through Outlook, though, there's not a whole lot you could do. The only other option that you might have is if we set up an email to case queue within Salesforce, and you could then just forward those emails, but it's the same thing you're doing right now.
Well, but what about just the email list creation? Right? Is there any way to? Because right now the way he goes through the process is he gets a list and then he runs a bunch of formatting to get to a valid list. And then mail merge is kind of a second process after that. But I think, go ahead.
So he can definitely pull lists from Salesforce. As we update that contact information, those lists will get better. I talked about adding the status field, so inactive versus active, as well as he can filter out those that don't have emails. You can definitely create a list like that from Salesforce and have it ready to be exported at any time. But that's not going to help with the email addresses that are in the system and are bad currently, and there's no way to know until you email them.
Yeah, and see, that's kind of so I think what this is starting to shake out as is that you have like a couple of different paths, right? You kind of have this idea that, I don't know why it's not letting me draw something, but and I think it makes sense to draw it. You have this path where it's like, okay, you got existing data, where you have new data, right? These are the two primary legs, right? So this is existing, and this is new. And then on the existing, you have two real issues, right? Which is the list gen, and then the other one is the mail campaign, right? The actual dispersion, right? And on the list gen, I think what you have is a couple of things that can or cannot be addressed. One being incorrect formatting of existing data. right? Another one is it's no longer valid, right? The validity isn't there any longer, right?
Yep.
And then probably the other one is the consistency of data, right? It might be valid, but it might not be it might not be with the right data anymore, right? I mean, you might have an email but no phone number, or something to that effect, right? So it's really just around consistency. So I guess what I'm asking, and I don't know if those are the only three, but let's just try those three for a second. How could Salesforce deal with the validity of existing data? Can we get an export and then go and through that export and say, okay, these are all incorrect or no longer valid, and so how do we identify those in a mass methodology so that way when we implement an active versus inactive button, can we take the second step, which would be to mass update the button so that way they are now all no longer representative of potentially valid, but they are all now represented correctly as invalid.
So what we could do is with that status field, we could mass update which ones are active and which ones are inactive. What we cannot do is mass merge though. So if there's 5 IBM accounts and all of them hold either opportunity information or activities or any kind of tasks, and you want to keep all of that information, you will have to manually merge each one of those.
Okay. So this is at the opportunity level. So the status field can be mass updated to, I'm just repeating because I'm not sure I completely understood.
Yep.
If this is 2 pieces, we can help clean the data of existing data by updating a status field, and now it all correctly says inactive.
Yes.
But any of those inactive contacts that are associated with an opportunity now have a second step, which is, what was that again? We'd have to go into those individual child opportunities and say, let's update it with the correct information. Is that what you were saying? I'm reaching. I can't remember what you said. Yeah.
So what he was talking about was the counts. If we're looking at opportunities, that's a little bit different, but with accounts and contacts, those can be merged. So if you have 2 Jane Does in the system, you can merge those 2 into 1 Jane Doe.
Were you saying
or you can delete one of those.
Were you saying if you like mass merge those, you would lose tasks and?
You cannot mass merge. So the only way you could mass get rid of those is to mass delete them. Merging, you have to do 1 account at a time, though, as the manual process.
That's kind of what we do now.
Yeah. So the only thing that could help with like these kind of list pulls is by adding this active versus inactive status pick list. So that way, at least you can see which ones are needing to be updated. You can make them inactive if they need to be updated at some point, and that can be handed off to somebody else.
So the reps are going to have to take all these bounce backs and forward them to whoever's handling that.
Yes.
Okay. I think that's kind of what we thought initially it might look like, Gabe. And then over time it gets better.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what we can do is we can put things into place today that stop the bad data from being entered in the first place.
Right.
But there's no way there's no easy way to clean up the data that's already in there.
And I think it's only 150,000 contacts or something. So.
Well, that's not bad.
Really? That seems daunting.
Yeah, I think we have close to 300.
Wow.
I'm still not. Forgive me, guys. I'm a little slow. So I think I heard that James was talking about merging accounts and contact objects and I think what I heard was you can merge to a single contact.
You can manually merge 2 contacts. You cannot merge 10 at the same time, though.
The contacts.
Yes, contacts and accounts. There's no way to mass do that.
So an account might have 8 contacts. You can't just merge all those 8 contacts to a particular account. I'm still trying to wrap my head around why would you merge 2 contacts?
Because they have,
duplicate contacts, right?
yep, duplicates.
Oh, so if it's duplicate, okay, now I'm getting it. Okay, I understand now. So if you have a duplicate contact, you can't merge it into one. But if you have 8 of them, you can't. What is that? There's a limit?
So it's like when James pulled up his Salesforce, there was like 5 IBM accounts.
Yeah.
We can't merge all 5 of those at one time in a mass merge. We have to go through and individually merge them each.
And why can't you do it?
There is no way to mass merge in Salesforce. Salesforce just doesn't allow for it. So the only thing you could do is mass delete, which means you could delete 4 of those and just keep 1. If you did that, you would lose all the account history, opportunities, any contacts, anything that's associated with those accounts you delete, you'd lose.
Okay. And so that's what you were saying is right now our current vision is we would have a sales associate evaluate those 5 IBM accounts and then manually go over the merging process into one master account.
Yes.
Yeah, or they could just go in and select the inactive or whatever. At the contact level, I think would be the most helpful to start with.
Yeah, if they select inactive, then when James pulls a report from Salesforce, he can throw that in as a filter and say only pull active contacts.
Okay, so from a process standpoint, we're saying to do the scrubbing, it would make sense to start at the contact level. It would eliminate the inactives, and then when you had to actually go through the process of the merge, you would only be dealing with active contacts, and then it might dwindle the list down. Is that what we're thinking?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So does that really? Okay, but that applies to any of these 3 layers that I've got, whether it's validity, if it's the format. Well, that works, right? I mean, that would still work. It's just that you can't process a mail merge out of that, right? Because you
Yes.
get a formatting problem. And then on the consistent, so really these 2, that solution set of going to contacts, clean those up, activate, and then merge, manual merge, kind of just exists for these 2 tiers, right? Okay. So we already decided that dispersion really isn't an issue. It's just this list gen and the cleanup. Does that apply for the formatting as well? I mean, is there any way to mass? So say you have an accurate list, but some of them were just incorrectly input. I mean, because I know James has got to go through some formula insertion of, making toms, little t toms into big T toms and that sort of thing. Is there any formatting mechanism in Salesforce to help with that at a particular field level?
I'm actually unsure. Most of our reps are really good about entering it in the first way, but I can definitely look into if we can create some sort of validation rule that says first letter of the name needs to be capitalized. I'm not sure if that is a possibility, though.
Okay, so maybe there's a string tokenization thing, and we can maybe. But ultimately, then, that's what you were kind of going through was enabling an active inactive might be the only SFTC solution. Combine that with a structured approach around how do you go and manually update, well, maybe it's at the contact level, then the account level, get that data cleaned up, and then over time, along with your new data coming in, okay, so talk to me about the new then. What can we do to ensure that the new data coming in doesn't fit into an existing problem that we're already trying to solve for?
So I am actually gonna see if I can just quick pull it up so you can see. So if I share this screen, can you guys see it?
Yep.
They have this whole duplicate management area where you can determine how you want things to match and if you want people to be able to create. So these are just standard ones that Salesforce gives you, and it's just a rule that you create. So it's standard matching rules for accounts. It's currently inactive, and then you set up a rule like on the account page. You name it. You can either allow or you can stop them from being able to create a record with a duplicate name. You have this text, and you want to compare accounts with accounts, and you want to use the standard rule, or you can create a new rule. They have mappings to make sure that all your fields are equal if you want to compare account with a contact, or something funny like that, which we don't want to do. And then these are the conditions that we want this rule to trigger. So there are ways that we can stop them from entering in bad data. We would just have to go through what we want to do, if it's just an alert, or if we want to report it to somebody, or if we want to completely block them from being able to create that. But
Okay.
those are things that we could set up going forward to stop the bad data.
Okay.
That makes sense, Gabe?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. So I'll just go back to the video and kind of capture that. And I'll put it back into this sanitize this FTC book. Do you have any other questions about this? Was it just for mail merge purposes, James, or is there other pieces of bad data that we want to target?
No, no, I think it is for mail merge. So.
Okay. So do you want to move on? Email campaign list. This was. This is going to kind of stay in place as it is, isn't it? Well, what about the filtering that you're doing, or the mail merge? I mean, again, going back to the conversation we just had, hopefully we won't be in a position where we have to purge out the bad data, but for the time being, we're going to have the formatting so we get a good list. Is that staying with you, or is that going off to somebody else? Here.
I think at some point I would love to have it go to a sales associate.
Okay. So really this becomes, except for the approval, right? Because you have to approve the template. You got to approve the target frequency, or excuse me, the mail merge frequency. Right? Or didn't you say something like that you didn't want it going to the same group of people like 15 times, that sort of thing?
Yep.
So here you have pieces, but the actual formatting of the mail merge, we think we could probably pull down to a sales associate.
Yeah, whatever one of those 4 groups in the future state was.
Right. So then, and then the other path of this was Ashley's got a solution set that she could do an SFDC if we can get past the marketing guys, right?
So if we mass email through Salesforce, then first of all of those emails are going to be attached to those contacts. That'll help you with filtering. If you don't want to send them an email more than twice a week, you can view when their last activity was, or every 2 days. That's something that you can then report on. As well as if then you have bad email addresses, we can set up alerts within Salesforce that that are triggered when an email bounces back because it's bouncing back to Salesforce. Or we can have it bounce back into, a case queue where an individual goes and cleans it up. Either way, since somebody's going to have to clean it up, whether we want to create a case or an email out to them or a task for them, we can create that.
Okay.
So that recommendation then depends on whatever your feedback is from VMware's marketing, right?
Yep.
Okay. Is that a conversation that's going to go, is that a conversation that you feel like we can have at this point, or is that something that, strategically we should wait on, or what are you thinking?
I'll probably touch base with Kevin first and get his take on if we should ask, if we want to engage corporate marketing, because they're already looking at the way we're doing, getting away with mass emails now, and have that discussion if we want to go down that path and see if we can utilize Salesforce. We just don't want to lose what we have the ability to do now.
Right.
And we don't have a great track record with corporate marketing. They're very controlling on a lot of things.
Okay.
But yeah, I'll have a conversation with Kevin soon.
Ashley, is there any way that you could go through and maybe record, and I can send you an invite if you want to do it with you and I, or you can do it now if it's something that's easy, but is it something you can demo through screenshots as to what the mail marketing replacement in SFDC would look like?
Yep, I can definitely demo that out. I just have to set up my instance of Salesforce to do that.
Okay.
There's a couple of buttons that I have to add to the page layout, stuff like that.
Okay, so we won't do it now then. Maybe I can tag up with you when we demo with James on Monday.
Okay. Yep, I can have it ready by then.
Okay.
Gabe, did you want to be on that invite for noon Eastern?
For the demo thing?
Yeah, the testing the upload and...
Yeah, I do. I just want to see, because if it becomes a process that we ultimately can capture, then I want to show, what that alternative looks like.
Okay.
Okay, so enough on that one. How about scope PSO accounts? This is one of those that is really not an SFDC thing, is it? And that's really going into VMware almost exclusively, right?
Scope PSO accounts, yeah, it's not Salesforce.
Right, so it's going to have to live as is, right? Is the scoping going to come away from you and go down to sales associate?
Yep.
Or is it you still?
It'll be, I want to get it somewhere else, so probably a sales associate.
Okay, so these all go down here. Okay. Is there any piece of that doesn't go to them? Oh,
No. No, there's not.
Okay. Then let's move on to registration.
Registration, okay.
Log into, okay, so ISRs are doing this is what I got showing now. Is that a true statement? That's going to stay with them?
Yeah, the only time it may change is when there's a bulk enrollment, right? We said that if they get something that's really going to bog down their time, they can pass it over to a sales associate.
And I got that as process bulk registration, right?
Yep.
Okay, so then if you just jump over to that, then really all those containers that have ISR swim lane populated, they really just go to sales associate. Which is actually everything.
Well, the ISR is going to receive still the information to do the enrollment, but they're just going to pass it to a sales associate.
Oh, okay. All right, so after that, okay, got it.
And then at the end of registration, the sales associate's going to notify the ISR that's done, right?
Yes. Well, there's that. Okay, so here there was the piece of we still got to update Salesforce with the registration info, right? So is that something that we might want to? Is that something that we could potentially be utilizing a Excel spreadsheet that contains the correct data fields that we're gaining from VMware on the registration process and from the emails that are coming that say here's the student name and the account number and all that crap? I mean, you see what I'm getting at? I mean, as a part of the process, would it make sense to build out a template that is an Excel format that once the registration in VMware or the LMS is complete, when we get to SFDC opportunity update, that we can use the data loader tool or whatever Ashley recommends to update the opportunity object?
I don't know. I don't know how that would work. I mean, most of the time, you have this parent account, then you get the registration, then you're just entering in all the individual opportunities. I don't know if you can automate that or not. You can certainly take it off the ISR's plate and have a sales associate do that for you, so you can go on and get the next one.
Yeah. But I mean, that's what it is, though, right? It's in the bulk registration instance, it's coming to the ISR in an email format, right? It's, hey, there's 10 people, here's their names, they need to register for this class, right? And in theory, we already have an SFDC opportunity at the parent level created, and what the sales associate is going to do is enroll them in LMS, and then once the enrollment's complete, they're going to go to SFDC, create the child against each one of those 10 students, and burn down the credit, right?
Yeah.
So I guess the question then, and again, I don't know how it would work either, but Ashley, does that sound like it's something where if there's a parent opportunity created and you have the details of what the opportunity object are in a CSV format or an Excel format, can you use data loader to create child opportunity objects in SFDC?
Yes, you could. You would just need to have the details of the parent one so that you can connect each of those opportunities to the parent opportunity, as well as you would need all the fields you want filled in on the child opportunity.
Okay, so can we add this to the list of things that we might be able to demo so we can see how that works?
Yep. So I was just looking at the mass email as well. I can get you guys screenshots, but unfortunately it is not available in the developer edition.
Okay.
So that's not anything that I'll be able to do within my developer org. I can pull screenshots and black out sensitive information in my current though. So it would just be taking pictures of buttons that you guys could see.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I mean, just, you know, I can't speak for James, but I'd say that'd be fine. I mean, do what you can, kind of thing.
Okay.
Okay, so some more to come on process bulk registration. We could potentially then deal with the registration, single registration process in the SFDC side if we can do the demo of child creation of a parent op. I mean, it just sounds like there'd be a template put in place. I mean, they got to extract the data anyway. Might as well just be putting it into a template, so that way we could, one, have it gathered in one place. You don't have to do the button click conversion across multiple applications. And then 2, you've now enabled SFDC to do data loader. So anyway, maybe we can see what that looks like and decide.
Okay.
All right, so what about manage call list and pull data list? So this is just report pulling, right? This is our chance to say, okay, do we have a particular report set that we want to go pull data for, and then format it so that way we have it in any regular format?
Yeah, this is manage call lists. So this could be a couple different things. It could be coming straight from Salesforce, similar to what we do with a mail merge, but just targeting, making phone calls instead of sending out an email, right? So just calling into an area, or it could be the lists we get from marketing and formatting those lists to get to a call campaign. I'm trying to see how this goes right now. Receive contact list. I think we've got that pretty well captured. If it changes, I think I'd still receive a list from marketing that I would get over to like a sales associate for formatting, and it's probably the same person, and trying to import those contacts. God, I'm so on the fence about that. It's going to be somebody that's never done it before. So maybe we just leave this one as is, because if somebody's importing contacts into Salesforce, I think we're just going to end up in the situation where we have more bad information in there.
Yeah. Does the if we are doing it, and this is just me talking out loud, so this might be a bad idea, but just thinking through the idea of, is there a way in Salesforce to invoke those validations that we saw on the duplicate entries function for an import of a raw data list?
Yes, so you can specify who can and cannot import data into Salesforce, because we've done that. We've locked it down to only admins.
Okay. And then what happens? So
it is based on profile, though. So if your manager is on the same profile as whoever their sales associate is, then blocking one will block the other.
Okay. So if you receive a marketing list and you want to mass import, so the validation though is really happening outside of Salesforce. You're just limiting who can do it, right?
Yeah, I'm the only one that currently does it. But when you use the mass import tool, it gives you some options to try to avoid duplication.
Yeah, I saw that in the video. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're already utilizing that functionality to some degree, right? Did you see that video, Ashley?
I did not.
Okay, so maybe I'll take that. I'll take that action and shoot you the video, and you can see what he's doing. And if there's any recommendation you have, maybe we can incorporate that.
Yep.
Okay. Monitor allocated credit. Oh shit, dude. I gotta get going after this. I'm probably eating up too much time now. So, monitor allocated credits. So this goes off to a little bit of involvement on you on the front end. Goes off to ISR. Is this kind of the flow in the 2B state as well?
Yes. Yeah. And talking with Brent and Kevin yesterday, I think it does stay at the ISR level.
Okay. All right. Well, Well, that's all the tabs in this field. I've definitely got a list of actions here, so I'll go complete some of those. Let me just walk through some of these to make sure that we're on the same page with what's coming. The first action I've got is we're going to try a beta of the mass updates of accounts, ops, and contacts. Yeah, you guys tracking with that? That was the first thing that we decided we were going to do.
Yep.
Then we're going to get an answer. And so that was really on, that's really on, well, that's the 12 noon Monday. Okay, so the thresholds thing, that's on James, right? Kind of understand what threshold trigger we could put into SFTC to shoot an email for low balance PSOs, right? There was a Monday VM data fields.
So I also put in the group chat a link to a Salesforce video that's using the mass email from Salesforce.
Oh, good. Okay. So that was the other one I had here was mass. So there's a link.
Yep, it's a video that YouTube or that Salesforce put out on YouTube about their emailing. I can definitely still take the screenshots, but I think it'd be helpful for you to see it going through the process as well.
Right. Okay. The other one I've got is on James for the data fields. What can we get from a data standpoint? I think I got it as a sub bullet to the beta stuff. So I guess what I was thinking there was we'd beta and see what the data requirements are, and then James, as a maybe a concurrent task, would need to understand what can we get from a data standpoint.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull that this weekend. What I can, so we can at least look at it.
Yep. Okay. The mass email update thing. Okay. Well, that's the link that we're going to look at. I have another item here about commissions. What was going on with commissions? What are we going to do with commission?
It's gonna stay with me. But I think no. We wanted to maybe eventually have a rep be able to see what they're making on each transaction, have their commission be updated.
Right. But
So
what was the action?
What?
What was the action?
I don't know if there is an action right now. It's just a longer term project, and I can't give a timeline until I would see a commission's plan, because depending on how complicated that is, determines how much coding has to be done.
That was it. Because that was kind of when I started going through my little spiel about next steps, right? Okay. Stop debate data thing. That's not really an action. That was was that more of a demo? This is a demo, right? Stop debate. But we already kind of went through it. You showed us on the video how you could, for new, put in validation rules, right? And then we walked through the tree around what can we do with existing.
Yep,
right?
I can definitely set up some rules to show you guys for Monday, because I didn't have any of those set up. So I could definitely set up some rules so that I can see you so that I can show you the alerts that are going to be given, as well as the options that you guys have.
Okay.
Yep.
And then the other action I've got is you're going to tag up with marketing to see what we can do with email campaigning. The other one was somebody was going to find out, or no, we were going to demo how, for process bulk registration, how multiple child opportunities get assigned through import of a CSV format to a parent opportunity. That was going to be demo, right?
Yep.
And then we have a manage call list video to add. Oh, I got to send this to you. So this is me. Okay. That's all I've got for actions. Were there any others that I should be tracking?
I don't think so.
Okay. For you, James?
Nope.
Okay.
Try to have a good weekend.
I'm gonna try to get a lot of this back into that BRD this weekend. At NOC, and hopefully be ready. Do you know? Do you know if we have dedicated time to discuss with Kevin what we're doing here on this one?
Do we have something scheduled with him?
Scheduled with him?
Do we?
I'm asking.
I don't. I don't.
Okay. And Keith, I don't know. He's like, dude, you need to be there, and I'm like, okay, for what? I mean, are we on? Just gonna sit around and then?
I have no idea. I mean, Keith and Brad have both been traveling, and yeah, I don't know. I just found out Kevin's on board, so yeah.
All right, man. Well, you guys be good. I'm gonna bounce on this one. Thanks for walking through this stuff with me. And then we're tagging up Monday, right? Go through demo.
You said you'll be here Monday?
Yeah, I'll be there Sunday night.
Okay.
But I'll be there.
All right, then I'll meet you in the training room, and I'll try to remember coffee.
All right, brother. You guys be good.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right. Have a good one.
You too. Bye.